The broadcast is now starting.
Well, hello there, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of the PixelMill Webinar Series and today's offering of Microsoft Stream, streaming for the masses. Oh, it's going to be a good one today, guys. I'm always really excited about our webinars, but today I am so excited for this one for a lot of reasons that we'll get to in just a second. I want to start off by saying if you have been to one of our webinars before, thank you so much for coming back. It's so nice to see you again. This is your first time joining us. Hey, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here. Hope we can make your first time here a lot of fun, and you'll come back for a second, third, 29.5 webinar. We'd love to have you back. Quick little bit about PixelMill, if we haven't had the chance to talk to you before. We design communication and collaboration portals, kind of based on that SharePoint, Office 365, Azure Teams kind of world. I consider ourselves leaders in the UI UX enterprise design world. So if you have ever any needs, any of that kind of stuff, come talk to us. We'd love to chat with you. Anyway, there's that stuff. A couple of the usual housekeeping things that you are used to on webinars. First of all, if you have any questions or comments or anything, there is a questions and a chat tab. Feel free to use those. I'll be monitoring the questions all throughout the session, and I will try to sneak those in as best as possible to our speaker. If for some reason we don't get to all of them, excuse me, we do leave a little time at the end for Q&A, so we will do our best to get to all of your questions. For all of you who are more socially minded, you'll see our Twitter handle at the bottom, @PixelMillTeam. Shoot us a question on there. I'll be following that as well, and we'll try to get those in. All right, enough from me. I've talked long enough. Today, guys, oh man, you were shouting for him. We brought him back. I'm excited to have him. Haven't seen him in a while, and he's doing a great session. I've been excited for this one ever since he told me he was going to do it. And we're so excited to welcome back Mr. Ryan Schouten. Take it away, buddy.
Thanks, Michael. It's good to be here today. So yeah, we're going to have some fun talking about Stream. Now, Stream is kind of one of those areas that I don't know if many people realize that it's available to them and the cool things it can do. So when I was working with Michael and Eric and team, we're kind of figuring, hey, this would be a good session to go do. So here we are. So a little bit about me. Shift, there we go. As mentioned, my name is Ryan Schouten. I've been working with SharePoint for a long time, Microsoft MVP and Office Apps and Services. And I do have a blog that I kind of talk about some things every once in a while, not super frequently, not enough. I need to do more, but there are some things out there. Plus, I do actually have a couple articles on Stream out there if you're interested. So a little bit of the history of video in Office 365. Initially, when Microsoft had Office 365 and we had SharePoint, if we wanted to host video, our only option was to host it inside a document library in SharePoint. We had old Silverlight web parts for playing that content, and it works, but it wasn't a really good experience. So then Microsoft came out with Office 365 Video. That was still built on top of SharePoint, but allowed us to be able to get some more things about creating channels, doing a lot more of a video platform than what we had previously. Then the problem was that it worked, but there's just not a lot of cool features that can be added to it. So Microsoft decided that they're going to move to Microsoft Stream, which allows you to be able to add in the intelligence features that we're going to talk about later today, and a lot of the adaptiveness that comes with this because it's backed by Azure Media Services. So a little bit of the architecture. Whether you're a user consuming video or you're the producer that's providing video for other people, in general, everybody accesses it from the same location out in the cloud. So you can have a live event where you can have a camera running that you run through a computer, push it into Stream, and then everybody consumes it from the same cloud location. And Microsoft does disperse it through CDNs to make sure it's accessible and quick for people. But one thing that you need to keep in mind with this is that if you're on a network and you have a large number of users or a small pipe on your network, you could run into some problems with firewalls because everybody's going to be going through the same location. So just be cognizant of that as you're kind of rolling this out and planning it, that if you have 5,000 people all accessing the same video, all 5,000 of those people are leaving your network and pulling down the same content. There are caching tools that you can take advantage of, but just keep in mind that that could be a problem just depending on the setup of your network. All right, so now talk about some of the features. So we've talked about, since this is built on Azure Media Services, we have the ability to get we get the adaptive stream, we have some other things that are added in, but it gets us a lot of cool functionality. So with the adapted stream, what this means is that the quality of the video will adjust based off of your connection and a few other factors. For example, if your operating system, whether you're on a mobile device, and the available network bandwidth. So if you're coming in and watching a video on a mobile device, it's going to give you a lower quality version of the video, so it's not sucking up all your data. Because most of the time you're on a small screen, you don't necessarily need a full HD video. You can go with a smaller resolution and everything works out just fine. Also, if you need to, and you know, hey, I am tethering my laptop on my phone and I've got a slower connection, you can manually go in and select and say, hey, yeah, give me the lower quality version, and then it'll adjust. Also, one of the things I've noticed is that in Stream, it does a really good job of adjusting for things that matter most. So for the most part, if you're watching a video, most times people really care about the audio content. Because on most videos, the screen doesn't update all that frequently, so if it's a little bit behind, it's not too bad. People need to hear what's being said. So it will prioritize audio content over video in the case that it gets really bogged down. All right, now one of the cool things that we've got now is Microsoft announced at Ignite last year is their mobile app. So what this means is it allows you to be able to consume and watch Microsoft Stream videos from your mobile device. So you can search with deep searching of all the content, and you can also pull those videos offline. So say, for example, you have a video about an all-hands meeting. You want to be able to watch it on the plane flight you're going on. You can go into the Stream app, download the video, and then it's available for you to consume. And for those that are security-minded, Microsoft has said that these videos are stored encrypted on the device, and the videos are also only available on the device for 7 days after downloading. So it's not like somebody can download some sensitive content and it sits out there indefinitely. Also, Microsoft recently added, which they talked about at the recent SharePoint conference, the ability that you can upload videos from your device. So say, for example, you have a video that you recorded with your phone. You can now upload it directly into Stream, which you couldn't do previously. And then coming soon, Microsoft has told us that we're going to be able to do live streaming from your phone with the Stream app with an upcoming update. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the intelligence features, because kind of like I said, this is one of the things that really sets Microsoft Stream apart from other video platforms. Even a lot of people will compare Microsoft Stream to YouTube for the enterprise, but this has a whole lot more power that YouTube doesn't even have, and this is one of those features here, is that when you upload a video to Stream, whether it's coming in from a video you recorded or after a live event, it will automatically, or can automatically, transcribe the audio into text. And from my experience, it does a really good job, and they're getting better. And there's ways you can actually go in and look and see how sure Microsoft Stream is about their transcription of certain sections of the video. They'll actually give you a percentage and say, hey, yeah, we're 99% sure we got this part correct. And you can go in and you can update things. The big caveats at this point in time is that you need the audio has to be in English or Spanish, and then the actual file itself has to be an MP4 or WMV file. Now, Microsoft has said they're going to include more and more languages as time goes on, but right now those are the stipulations that we've got. Also, if you do get those situations where you say, hey, yeah, this just really messed up this. For example, I was working with a video and it transcribed somebody saying blizzard to just lizard, which makes sense, it's close. You can go in and make those adjustments. One of the cool things though, is you can also take that file that gets generated with your transcription, hand it off to a different team to translate it, and you can pull it back in, and now you have your subtitles in different languages without having to go through a whole lot of extra effort. Another intelligence feature we get that's kind of cool is deep searching. So within Microsoft Stream, you can search for content and it'll go in and see if it show you everywhere it finds that content in videos. So the transcribed text, for example. The search inside the mobile app also is powered by this. One caveat for anybody that's interested, one of the differences between Office 365 video and Microsoft Search is that this content is not currently in SharePoint Search, and it's not currently in Microsoft Search. Microsoft Search should be getting it sometime soon, but it's not there just yet. And SharePoint Search, they haven't really announced any plans of getting it in there at all. So something to keep in mind. Also, with those items that it found, it tells you actually a timestamp of where it is in the video. So if you click on that result, it jumps you right to that point. So it's not you having to figure out, okay, well, they said it, now I have to watch the whole video to find it. You actually can pull it up and say, okay, yep, right here. This is where you need to go. This is what you're interested in. And then again, you can show it up in transcript mode. So this will show you what it transcribed. And the cool part is as the video is going along, you can, and by default, it's going to automatically scroll. So as people are talking and the video goes along, it'll highlight, okay, here's where we are. And it'll just kind of progress. Here's what's been said and shows you know where in the video the text is. So that way you can say, oh, okay, this is what we're dealing with. If you have edit permission on the video, so you're an owner on the video, you have the ability also to go in and edit. So if you want to say, hey, this transcribed this part wrong, instead of having to go track it down, go download the file, edit it, you can just go straight into transcript mode, hit the edit button, and just change the text right there, and it's done. Automatically updates. Another one of the cool features they gave us was face detection. So for example, you could be watching a town hall video where you have some different speakers from your organization coming in and talking about different topics. You could have the CEO come in, talk about the general overall status of the company. You can have an HR person come in, talk about the different benefits they're talking about, and you could have the accounting department come in and talk about the financial status of the company, for example. Well, in the video, if you're running this, it will show you the faces of the people and where in the video those people were talking. So as you're going through, you can say, you know what, I want to see what new cool new benefits the company is giving us. So on the video, you can go in, you can scroll, say, okay, yep, I can see this is our HR person. I can jump right to that spot in the video, and I can see what they're talking about. Also, just because this has a tendency, it's going to pull out faces that it sees in the video, you can merge different ones together. So say, for example, you have a side angle face of one person, and then you have a front shot, and then you have another side angle as they're talking about something else, or it picks up a face while somebody else is talking from a presentation, for example, just a picture that was on the screen. You can kind of merge those together and say, yep, we're good here.
Hey, Ryan, we had a good question come in, kind of what you're talking about right now. In transcript mode, this is from Victor. Thank you, Victor, for throwing your question out. In transcript mode, can you add titles for sections of the video?
Not at this point. And I've not seen anything on their roadmap along those lines either.
Excellent. Thank you. That was it.
Yep, great. All right. Cool. So yeah, we do have the ability to add some things, and we'll get a little bit more that can kind of give you titles for sections, but not really. But we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, at this point in time, it's just those sections are just there. We don't really have any way of doing major, hey, I want to call out this section. Microsoft has said on the roadmap they're going to give us the ability to do some editing and sort of thing. So maybe we'll get that as part of that. But yeah, at this point in time, it's just a video, no real way of kind of grouping sections together. All right, so we talked about face detection. All right, now one of the other cool things that you can do with Microsoft Stream is live events. This is one of those ones that Microsoft released into public preview summer last year. So I think it was July last year. So we've had it for about a year now. And then they released it to full release earlier this year. So what this does is it allows you to be able to go in and stream video directly from a live event. So not with the previous stuff we've talked about, those will all apply to video on demand, for example. You've recorded a video, you now want to upload it. Live events allows you to do, like we've been talking, the all hands meeting live. So that way, as it's happening, people can watch the video, and depending on your channel that you're going to use, so we have a few options there, depending on that, they can actually interact back with you, kind of similar if you want to do, a webinar, for example. I got a typo in here. I need to clear that out. But also, you have some basic analytics. As far as like when you're streaming this out, you're one of the producers, you have some information about currently how many people are currently watching your video, how many total views, and then likes. Microsoft has promised they're going to provide more analytics on these, but that's what we have at the current point in time. And then with this, you can schedule it, deliver it out, do what you need to with it. And all you really need, in some cases, is like we talked about with the mobile app coming out, all you really need is a phone, or you can have a full multi-camera production environment, just depending on what your needs end up being. So when we're doing a live event, when you're producing a live event, at this point in time, you have 3 different channels, for lack of a better word, of relaying that out to your users. So we have Teams, Yammer, and Stream. Teams does use, for some types of live events, it uses its own meeting functionality to be able to produce it, which is why it can handle some features that the others can't. But it can also do the full-fledged, I'm going to give Teams the video content, the full encoded option. It can handle that as well. Also, one of the current limits, well, a couple of current limits for live events is it's got a 10,000 maximum concurrent viewers limit. Whether that'll go up or not exactly sure, but that's what Microsoft says the current limit's at. And then a max resolution of 720p. So it's not going to be a full HD, it's not going to be 4K video, but most of the time if you're streaming content over the internet, 720p is still a pretty good video. So just kind of a quick comparison. Some of the things, if you're doing, for example, in Teams, really all you need is just the Teams app. You don't really need a whole lot more. It can do a live event and you're off and running. If you want, there are more you can do with just a straight up video encoder, which gives you a whole lot more flexibility, but then at the cost, it does become more involved, a little more to work with. Also, one of the cool things you get with Teams is you do get the ability to do moderated Q&A, as long as you are using the Teams app for producing the video. So you can have people come in, they can ask their questions, just like in a webinar, and then you can have moderators say, yep, okay, this is a good question, we want everybody to see it, and then they can actually respond to it. So it gives you a full webinar functionality.
Speaking of a good question, Ryan, a good question came in. Again, this is from our friend Victor. Thank you, Victor, for throwing out your question. Being that we are using government version of Office 365, are there some features not allowed?
That is actually a good question. From people I've talked to, most of the functionality of Microsoft Stream is available in the GCC. So when I talked to some people at a conference in April, they confirmed that it is there. There were some things that were kind of hokey, but for the most part, most of the functionality is there. So I don't think there's any, there may be some limits like on the different pieces, like with integration with Yammer and Teams, but the functionality, I'm trying to think, there was one thing they mentioned that wasn't there. I may have to think of that one and get back to you, but for the most part, they did confirm the functionality is there.
Excellent, thank you for that. And then another question came in while you were talking. This is from Sydney. Thank you, Sydney, for submitting your question. Can you discuss the increased capabilities of the E5 sub versus the E3 or less?
Yes, and at this point in time, there is no difference. When Microsoft released Microsoft Stream last year, there was. The E3 was a lot more limited. You didn't get any of the intelligence features. So you didn't get the face detection, you didn't get the transcript mode, and it did have deep searching, but most of the intelligence stuff you didn't get unless you had the E5. Then December of last year, Microsoft said, hey, you know what? We're going to push it down to all levels. So if you have access to Microsoft Stream, you have access to all of the functionality. So whether you're on an E5, you're on an E3, you're on an E1, you're on Office Business Premium, no matter what it is, if you have access to Stream, you have access to all the features right now.
Excellent. I realized my microphone wasn't down. Sorry about that, everybody. And a follow-up question to that. If I go looking for video encoder, what kinds of sub-features and labels will be out there to be confused? That's also from Sydney. It's a follow-up from Sydney.
Okay, so can you ask that one again?
Absolutely.
External encoder.
If I go looking for video encoder, what kinds of sub-features and labels will be out there to be confused?
Be confused.
Maybe it's just I think it's just what features and labels are out there. I think that's
okay. That part I can answer. So for the most part, really, It doesn't matter. Any video encoder that can handle an RTMP feed to stream it out to works. There's the one that I use a lot is OBS because it's free. Microsoft has integration built in with, I believe it's Wireshark and a couple other ones. We can look at that in a minute when we actually get into the demos, where they actually can give you pre-configured setup, so it's just a little easier, but then those products actually cost money. So yeah, there are some different encoders, but really the crux of it is it just needs to be able to push to an RTMP, which is a standard streaming protocol.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to do one more question, and then we'll come back to some of these. You apparently caused a whole avalanche of questions, Ryan. People are loving what you're talking about. Can I use, this is from Starkey. Thank you, Starkey, for your question. Can I use the free version of Teams and stream to external users or the public?
No. At this point in time, the free version of Teams does not allow you to do meetings at all, which is the limitation. In Teams, in order to be able to do a meeting, in order to be able to do a live event, you have to be able to create a meeting. You have to be able to schedule it and go through it, which the free version doesn't currently support. But that being said, with Teams, you can allow external people to use it, but you actually have to have a full Teams license. And once you have that, you don't really need too much because the URL is going to be coming from Teams. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Just as long as you have that, then you can have an event that you can have people go into. So if you have a personal one, or if you have one with a company, make sure you talk to your company about their policies if you're using their stuff for streaming. But yeah, it's the Teams, the free version doesn't give you all the functionality you need in order to be able to make that work.
Excellent. Now, Ryan, I'm actually going to ask you, there's a ton of questions that just came in. So would you like to answer those now, or do you want to wait a little bit and get back to
let's go ahead and get on with content, and then we can kind of pick those up at the end.
Excellent. Everyone who has questions, don't worry, we're keeping track of those. We will get back to you in just a bit.
Cool. Yeah, just make sure we actually have time to get through the demos. I know that's what a lot of people want to see.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on. So one of the cool things you can do as well with a stream video is you can embed the video inside of different applications. So for example, as it's loading on its own there, thank you. I embedded this video from my stream tenant into a PowerPoint presentation. So let's see if it actually, sometimes it wants to log in, sometimes it wants to work. So as part of this, you can see how many people have watched it, you can see how many likes it's got. So we have the video. So it's fairly simple to embed it. And this is one of those things that Microsoft did as a session at Ignite last year. They kind of said, hey, here's how we show it off. So they get a little promo video. But it's fairly easy to embed and consume. Also, if you're working with Word, PowerPoint, like we said, OneNote, also you can embed stream videos into a web page, whether that's a SharePoint web page, whether it's a straight up content page, WordPress, for example, or any external system that actually can load in web content. So you can embed these pretty much anywhere. The one caveat is these are only available to people within your network. So if you put this out someplace on WordPress site, for example, it's available to the internet, they can see it, but they won't have the ability to load in the video. Also, one of the things that comes in handy if you're embedding into a web page, you'll want to make sure you provide in the URL, they have embed codes that you can get, but you'll want to adjust it a bit, and we can look at this, add in what's called a domain hint. So that way Stream knows, oh, okay, I'm going to go talk to Office 365, make sure this person is signed into this tenant. And if they're signed in, it says, okay, yep, you're good, and it'll just load. Otherwise, you're going to get a login prompt. And switch to the right focus, there we go. All right, now, limits. There are some limits with Microsoft Stream. Like I said, as far as functionality and features, it's across the board, so you have access to everything. The other thing is your storage quota. Everybody, if you have a tenant, you get 500 gig for storing your videos. After that, you get half a gig for every licensed user. So if you have users licensed in your environment, you have 1,000 E3s, for example, then you'll get half a gig for every one of those users. As we mentioned before, we do have some limits on live events, 10,000 concurrent attendees. Also, right now, there is a maximum 4-hour length for a live event. And one of the interesting things is you can upload, like if you're uploading a video, you get 50 gig is the max upload size. So you can't upload a huge video file. Well, even then 50 gig is honestly a huge file, but you can upload up to 50 gig video files. Also 500,000 total videos. And then for one user, they can have a maximum of 5,000 videos that they can upload. So if they start getting to the end of that, they're going to want to start pulling that back and making some adjustments. Also, one of the cool things, Microsoft recently released this within the last couple months, is that we can actually add interactivity into our videos now. And what do we mean? So what that means is in a video, you can add in polls, quizzes, surveys, or according to my slide here, serveries, I'm gonna adjust that, into your video at certain points. So you can say, hey, at this point in the video, I wanna ask them a question. So, hey, how much did you learn from this? Or at the end, you wanna say, hey, we have a training video. I wanna see how much knowledge did they get out of this video. You can ask them questions at the end, and then you have the results, and you can kind of do whatever you need to them with that data. One of the caveats on this, though, is once you add a form, and like I said, this only works for Microsoft Forms at this point, once you add that, you can't edit it. So with that, you'll be able to specify a name, what's going to show, a kind of title, what stop point, what timestamp in the video it shows up, and then the URL for the form that loads in. Once that's set, you can't edit it. So if you want to change that, you have to go in, remove it, add it, set it to the right place, and add it back in again. Now, reporting is one of those things that Microsoft has said, and it's on the roadmap for coming up, but it doesn't exist yet. So they do have a very good blog article about how you can go in and actually use the Office 365 Audit Log to generate reports. So you can say, hey, here's people coming in, here's what they've seen, who's watched it, but they're getting at us more of like, okay, what portions of the videos are being watched, where are people dropping off, that sort of stuff. But this kind of gives you in general what videos are being watched, who's liking them, what points are they dropping out. So you have a lot of that data. So if you want to, this is a good article. It is a bit long, as it is extremely long. And one of the non-ideal things is in order to go gather the Audit Log data, there is some hard coding of a password into the flow that's going to pull this information. So just keep that in mind. It's not ideal, but it's a decent stopgap until Microsoft gets us the reporting functionality that we really all want and need. All right, so now the moment you've all been looking for. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and close this out. So like we said, we have a few different options when it comes to doing videos. So what we're going to do, I'm going to switch over. And we're in Office 365. If you want to get to stream, it's going to show up in your options if you've used it a lot, like I have. If not, we can click on All Apps, or in the App Launcher, you can also click All Apps here, and then we can scroll down to Stream. So we'll go ahead and launch Stream. And so this is kind of like, this will load up the actual default platform. So as part of Stream, we have the ability to organize our content. By default, you can upload a video and do absolutely nothing with it. Just have it out there, available to people, it's fine. You also have the ability to create groups and channels. So just like everything else in Office 365, if you create a group, it is creating an Office 365 group. So everybody that's there can have access to that content. Now, one of the differences here is that a group can also have its own channels. And those channels are owned by the group. This type of channel that's here is a company-wide channel. So if I go ahead and create this channel, everybody in my organization can see that it's there, they can interact with it and see any of the videos that I've given them access to that I put in that channel. One of the limitations right now is these channels, once you define the person that creates it is the owner, there is not currently a way to be able to change the owner. So say, for example, I created a channel for another group because I'm working with them on it. I have no way of being able to make them owners of it to be able to maintain it afterwards. Also, if somebody leaves the company, they're out of luck. The channel is just going to sit there until they give us the ability to go in and change it. So Microsoft has said they're working on it, but it's just one of those things to keep in mind. So as you can see up here, let's go ahead and close this. On this top bar, it's kind of showing through and cycling through some spotlighted videos, some videos that are trending, things that people are watching. Like, okay, which in reality, in this tenant, it's just me. So it's saying things that I'm watching, which not a whole lot there. But you do also have the ability, so kind of cycle through some of these. We have our trending. Also have the option to be able to spotlight videos. So this works on a channel and also at the global level. You can spotlight the content and say, hey, this is a video that I want everybody to be able to see, to be able to go find. With that, we can kind of scroll down. We have some popular channels. We have some videos that are trending. As in trending, we have a couple views. And so we have all that content. Your users also can come in and search for content. So we can come in, for example, let's do a search, for example. If I come in, let's search for Microsoft Stream. And I know I have at least one video that should have some content in there. Cool. So you can see from here, we can see all the different videos that have talked about Microsoft Stream and where in the video that point is. So for example, we have the promo video that the Stream team provided. So if we go ahead, we'll click on this, we'll jump to this point, and then we'll notice that it'll actually jump us to that point in the video. So as this loads,
Microsoft Stream.
Now we jump clear here, and then apparently that particular one was at the end. So not the best jump point. So what we'll do, we'll kind of go back here to the beginning, and then we'll watch as well. Here over on the side, we have our transcripts that will run.
Tired of paying too much for your enterprise video?
And is also showing the where we are in the video.
And we've got a solution for you.
So I can say, hey, you know what? Solution for you. Okay. If we wanted to go with their certain text that they had, I can say, you know what? I want to edit this. I want to make it match what they put on the screen. I'm going to go here, save that one,
Microsoft,
and then come back here.
We've got a solution.
Then we're going to call that one 4.
For you.
Anyway,
Microsoft
so
Stream.
as you can see, it's just that easy to go in and change it. Now, one of the things we can do as well is we can turn on captioning, and we can also come in and we can do subtitles. So at this point in time, you either have, by default, when you upload a video, you will have off, and then whatever language the video is in. I've gone through the effort just to kind of translate some of the text just to kind of show what it looks like. So I have the option to do French subtitles. So if we switch back to here, and then we hit play, then we'll notice we'll have the subtitles show up here in French.
Too much for your
Granted, it doesn't handle the the French characters very well, but
then we've got a solution for.
But you can see it's fairly simple to be able to get the content in there and be able to have subtitles to take advantage of these organizations that are multi-country. And this particular one, we don't have video faces on. We do have the option to do our interactivity. So I'm going to come into the end here. And if we see what this looks like, say, okay, we want to add a Microsoft form. Cool. Well, you need to have the URL for the form, and then we'll need to give it a name. So let's just go ahead and do this. So we're going to do forms.office.com. All right, and then we'll just do a new form. We'll call this stream promo. And we'll ask a question. Okay, what did you think of this promo video? Okay, we'll do stars. Cool, we'll make this required. Cool. And then to get this in there, all I really need, then granted, forms is a whole nother section in and of itself. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna copy this URL. We're gonna come back. We want it at the end of our video. So we'll paste the URL in. We'll now do our questionnaire as well. Oops, questionnaire, we'll call it. And then we'll add it to the timeline. So now we can see that it's here. We can add in another one if we want. We can also see our options. But as we said before, we have no ability to come in and edit it. So if I want to change it up, I have to delete it and re-add it. So if we move this back just slightly, we can see what it did is it added this little dot. And the name of your form they put in there is also the hover that shows. So we'll go ahead and let this run just to show what that looks like. So when it hits that point, in your video, it's going to go out, load the Microsoft form. So you can say, hey, here, cool. What do you think of this promo video? Say, hey, I think it's cool. And we'll hit submit. So at this point in time, it's really just loading in Microsoft Forms. So nothing super fancy there. The same screen you get, the same settings for your response message, that's all there. Then once they're done, they do have the option to continue to video, which in this case, it just ends. All right, so now if we go back out to my videos, we have one in here. Come on, load. There we go. So in this particular video, this is a demo I was doing also talking about stream, but I know we do also have the ability, like we talked about, the people. So in this particular video, it's just me and I'm talking the entire time. So just like you guys, you may get tired of listening to me talk, but if we actually took this video that gets generated from this webinar, we would have the ability to pull in different faces and people talking at different times. So for example, when I'm talking and we got Michael doing the intro and then asking the questions, you can be able to easily jump to the question parts and say, hey, you know what? I've listened enough of Ryan. I just want to hear the parts and get the answers to questions. You can actually do that. If we click on edit, it shows you, as you can see on the side here, so you can zoom in. There we go. So we have a couple different views. So for example, we have one, which is the one it was showing, and it says, you know what, these are kind of similar enough. It didn't show it. I'm not in that video looking at it. It's not doing a whole lot of talking. So it's not a huge concern, so it didn't show it. But I can say, you know what, these are the same person. I'm going to go ahead and merge them. And then once it does that, I can pick, yep, I want this thumbnail to be the one that shows, and then merge. And now we have the video. It's just the one face on there, and it's all good. Also, if you're in a video, you have the same search option. So I can come in, and this one, I can say 60, and hit enter. This can go out, and we have the one spot where it says, okay, cool, yep. 1 minute and 14 seconds in, it was talking about, so whether you're in office, officers 65, yet again, we can say, hey, we can fix that, but then it is throwing up, this is where it shows up in that video. So to upload a video, it's fairly simple. You can go into create and upload, and you can just load up the file. Like we said, up to a 50 gig limit. Once you get the video uploaded, it'll give you the edit screen for that video. So if we come in here, let's take this guy, edit, and don't need to play that. All right, so you can come in, you can change the title, the description, the language for the video. You can change out the thumbnails. So by default, it's going to process the video after you upload it, and it's going to pull out based off your choice whether you want to include the transcription, do the captions, and then it's also going to pull in thumbnails. But you can also, you know what? I want to use my own image for that. And carry on. Also permissions. Click. There we go. You have the ability in the admin side of Microsoft Stream to be able to control whether this is the default, where I allow everyone to see it, is default or not. Also with this, I can actually share it to Office 365 groups, or to specific channels, or to specific people. And then we can specify whether they're an owner or not. Also, one of the things to keep in mind is at this point in time, only owners can download the video file. So if you want, which is kind of in some organizations a nice security thing, because it helps protect the content. You don't want people just downloading it willy-nilly and then doing what they want with it. So we do have that. Also, you can turn the people on and off. You can also turn off the ability for people to comment after the fact. As was mentioned, if you want to be able to now pull the content, the transcript, so I'll go ahead and go download this file. And I'm pretty sure I don't have this one open. And this is just using a standard formatted file. No, I don't have a lot of text in here. Let me have to do a different one, but it's just a web VTT. So it's a standard text file, so it makes it fairly simple, the things people can work with. Let's go pick a different video that actually has some content here. So we'll take the promo video. Okay, with this one you can see I've already uploaded French subtitles, but let's go ahead and download this one. And yep, Notepad. All right. So one thing we see in here, it gives us the total duration, plus also we have notes that it's added with its confidence. So for this first little bit, it says, yep, I am 95% sure, or case of rounding, 96% sure that I got it correct. And then for each section, it's going to give you a confidence level. So you can say, oh, okay, you can focus and target on ones that it says that's a little less sure on. So if we come down here, we've got 92, 92, and 92. Okay, so not all. It thinks it did a pretty good job, and then with this particular one, it actually did do a pretty good job on it. So all we had to do if we want to translate this to another language now is don't touch these parts, but we can come in and just translate the text. So as long as we just change this and these parts stay the same, we can take that same file, upload it back in, and everything ties up and lines up. So it's with the GUID, and the timestamps are how it ties up to where it should show on the video. All right. And then now, like I said, if we're listening, a lot of people are interested about this one for live events. So as we said, you can do a live event in Teams, Yammer, or in Microsoft Stream directly. Now, one of the things Microsoft recently released is previously, if you're going to create a live event in Yammer, the only option you had was you had to have Microsoft Teams installed to be able to set it up. Even if you weren't going to use Teams for it, you had to have it installed. Now they've recently released it that it gives you the options that, okay, are you going to be producing this with Teams, or are you going to be using an external encoder? So for our purposes today, we're going to go ahead and start out seeing what it looks like when we're creating one of these in Teams, because it's the simplest approach, and so it makes it a little easier for people. So if we go into meetings, which yet again is per the question, this is the part that is why it doesn't work with the free version, because you don't have the ability to do meetings. So it's not super intuitive in Teams how to do a live event, but if you go into meetings and click on schedule a meeting, you have to realize up here, this is now a drop-down. Previously, it was just a header, but it's actually a drop-down now, and I can select, I want a new live event. So with this live event, we're going to call this PixelMill Webinar. Okay, well, I can put in a location, I can specify when it happens. You can also include different presenters. So the cool part about this is not everybody has to be in the same place at the same point in time. So I could be sitting here in California, I can have somebody sitting in Florida, another person in my organization who's going to be sharing content, and we can just share everything together since it's using Teams for that, which is one of the powerful things that Teams gets us. Now, if you're using other options like a video encoder, you can still do it, but you have to be a little more creative in order to get that to work. Also, there is a limitation at this point in time that in order to add in presenters, they have to be a member of your tenants. So guest accounts don't work reliably. I've had a couple that I've been able to get added, but it's not consistent about when it does it. So if you want to be able to add somebody in, right now Microsoft says they only support actual members of the tenant, but they are working on the ability to get guest producers to be able to be added in. All right, from there we can go ahead and hit next, and then we get some more information. Well, we have to make some more decisions in reality. So you need to choose what your audience is. So if you want specific people to be able to access it, you want it available to the entire organization, or you want a public event. So say, for example, you wanted to host and go out and do a webinar, or for example, I've been working with the SharePoint, the Southern California Office 365 Productivity Group, and we stream live our user group meetings using Microsoft Teams. And we do this option here because it gets us a lot of the same functionality. So for example, if we click public, some of our options below here will change based off your selection. So as you can see, if I select public, we have a lot of the same options, but our ability to do an external app, so this is the video encoder option, goes away because it doesn't support that. If we select org-wide or people and groups, I can choose whether I want to use Teams and use all these features, or just use an external app or device, and then people can consume the video through Microsoft Teams. Also, if you are, depending on which option you're doing, if you're doing an external app or device, the video automatically goes into stream when it's done. If you are using Teams, The recording is available to producers and presenters, and then optionally to attendees, but it doesn't automatically go into stream. If you want it there, you have to pull it down and then go upload it. Also, we have the ability to do a Q&A and to get an engagement report about when people joined, when people left after the event is done. So in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and turn it on, and I'll go ahead and schedule it. And my computer beeps all over the place because it says, hey, you've got a meeting starting in 15 minutes. All right, so from here, you have the option, you got your attendee link. This is what you can send out. So for example, I could go pull this link right now, and all of you that are joining on this webinar could jump on that other meeting as well and participate in it. I'm not gonna necessarily do that because that's gonna be fairly bandwidth intensive and distracting from the event. So just keep in mind, that's how you get your event. So you can see afterwards, and a lot of this here will be available to you afterwards. So if you come back after the fact, you'll have the options. So you'll have any of the things you selected. So the engagement report, the video to be able to go download, this will be available here. So now if I go ahead and hit join, it's gonna say, hey, you wanna use your microphone and use your camera, but in this case, since my camera is already in use, it's not, that part won't work. So I'll just go ahead and hit join now. And this is a similar experience to what you're used to with joining a meeting, except when you get to this point. So this is the production experience when you're producing a live event for Microsoft Teams. You have two options. You have full screen content, or you have side-by-side content. So that's really all you've got. Once you come down here in the lower section, you'll have everybody that's a presenter in the meeting. So for example, if I had 5 presenters, I will have all of their information here, plus I can also have their videos. So if they're sharing their video from their webcam, this will show up underneath here, and then I can put it on that section on the video, or if they're currently sharing their screen, we can get that as well. So for example, I'm gonna go ahead and share that particular screen. If I come back here, there we go, oop, stop, there we go. So you can see I'm on here, I have my content I'm sharing. And then I can choose what I want. So from here, if we go to full screen view, I can now select the content I want, and it's there. And then once I'm ready, I'm okay with it, making sure it's what I want, I hit send live, and it moves it to the right pane. So the right pane is what's currently being viewed. So I can come in as well, and I can change this up. So I can say, hey, on the left, I want to make some changes. I want to change out whose content's being shared, whose video. So that way you can kind of have, you know, okay, well, we got, for this point to this point, we've got the CEO talking, and then this next part, we want to switch it over. So you can prep it all, make your changes, even whether it's side by side or a single screen, make your changes, and then hit send live, and it immediately switches it over to the other view. So now attendees can be able to take advantage of that information. They'll be able to get that content. Also, if you come up here, users do have the option to get meeting chat if they're part of your organization. And then since I did turn it on, we also have the ability to do Q&A. So as a producer, and even as a presenter, I have access to this. It'll show me all the questions. Then I can come in and I can make an announcement. We will be starting short. Okay, this now comes out as a posted question. So if somebody that's on there, whether they're as part of the event, which works whether it's an anonymous person, somebody signing in, no matter what, they post a question, it'll show up here. You have the option to now publish that question if you want, or you can respond back to them directly. If you publish the question, then you can respond back to the question so everybody can see it, or like I said, you can just respond directly to them. And then it's just kind of like, okay, maybe they had a private question, or say, hey, this is a little comment. It's like, hey, I can't hear something. And then you can resolve it. It's not something that you necessarily need everybody to be able to take advantage of. And then you can deal with your different settings just like you can with Teams. So nothing too different there. And then we can touch that again and turn it off. Then when you're ready, make sure you hit the start event button. If you don't hit that, nobody's going to see anything. They'll be sitting there waiting and nothing will happen. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and call it good. I'm going to go ahead and stop, say leave, and then we're good. So now we'll change this up a little bit. I'm going to come back into the browser. And instead of doing it that way, I'm going to come in, I'm going to create one through Yammer. Since I know everybody here loves Yammer, and it's just the place to be, we're going to go ahead and go that way. Now, the way I mentioned that is, yes, a little tongue-in-cheek here. Yammer is a great tool, but it's also, nope, not that network. Thank you, Yammer. Give me the right place. There we go. All right. So we can see in here, we have the setup. Now, one of the requirements is, for example, I have this group I created. It's called Yammer Live Demo. And if we're looking at it, you can see I'm even asking myself, talking to myself here. I said, okay, where's my live option? Normally, it should be over here on the right. If you are not seeing the option to do a live event, then that means your group was created as a Yammer group and not as an Office 365 group. In order for this to work, you have to be in an Office 365 group connected mode in order for that to work. So if I come into test, we can now see on the side, I have options about group events. So we have the past events. Also, I have the option to create a live event. So one of the cool things we do have, though, if I come into this past Yammer live event, I think this one I put a comment on, yep. So we have the video, cool. We have the ability to do questions with it. But then also as I scroll down, you'll notice here on the right, the video is following. So I can play the video, and as you see, as we scroll down, as I can tell myself, because yep, talk about it again, scrolling down, everything moves off to the side. That way, as the people are watching it, they can be reading through it. Okay, so it makes kind of a cool experience, and also as people are typing questions in here or making comments, this will automatically feed, update, and reload the content for you. So previously in Yammer, if you wanted to get updates, you had to kind of go refresh. This will automatically load it in for you. All right, so we talked about that. Let's get back to our test, and let's just show you what the creation experience looks like. There we go. So if I go ahead and click Create Live Events. Now, this is the part that has changed. Like I said previously, the only option said, hey, we're going to launch Microsoft Teams. Even if you're not using Teams to actually produce it, you still had to have it to set it up. Now we have the option to say, I'm going to use an external app or device or Teams. So I'm going to, for this one, since we've used Teams before, we're going to do an external app or device, hit Next. And it's a lot of similar information. So this is going to be Yammer PixelMill Demo. Okay, same thing, we can specify time, add in presenters, schedule. Okay, so now the event is here. So anybody that's part of this particular group can now come and they'll see over here on the side, we have our Yammer PixelMill demo. So they can see that it's there, we can talk about it, we can post about it, so that way everybody knows. Not hiding anything here. So then if we come into it, since I am the person that created it, I have some options that most users don't see. We have some options to be able to start our setup. Now, this is one of those things that you have to keep in mind, whether you're doing, when you're doing an external encoder, so this is even through Teams, Yammer, or Stream, if you're doing an external encoder, it will give you information that you need to be able to set it up, but you have to click this first. There have been time frames where I've been doing demos. I'm like, why is this not connecting? It's just throwing errors. And I was like, oh, duh, got to hit that button first. So if we hit Start Setup, this is going to start up. And it's going to get our encoder ready for us. Come on. There we go. Now, you'll notice it's not necessarily giving us the information. So, okay, we need our ingest URL. So if I click on that, this is what we need. So like I said, the biggest thing that you need is you need something that can push to an RTMP URL. So if your encoder can handle that, you're good to go. So for this one, I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to launch, like I said, OBS. And come on. There it goes. Okay, this is a fairly powerful tool, allows you to do some pretty cool things with it. And yet again, it's going to be complaining because I don't have my content here because my camera's already in use. But I'm going to come in, I'm going to take that feed URL I got, come into the stream option, and I'm going to paste the URL here. And just what I like doing is I also just like taking the end part since it wants to have a stream key. I can paste it in there, hit apply. All right, now from this point, I am good to hit start streaming. So once this goes, we get a nice little green bar. It says, yep, you're good, you're connected, 30 frames a second. Here's your upload speed and how long you've been live. Cool. So now if we switch back over to Yammer, there is a delay. So if you're doing these, it's not going to be immediate. So just like with public television, there's a delay in the live events. Hopefully you guys don't have any of the same issues that public television has had, but we do have this ability. All right, come on. And then this will update here. But while that's loading, you'll notice it does say that we're on pre-live state. So it's okay. So you know that it's not actually started. It says you're ready to go live. It's loading in my content here. So this should pop up here shortly, just so we can see what it is. And then once we're ready, we can hit start event. And then at that point in time, everybody starts seeing what's being shared. And is my connection working? All right, I think so. So this is in the mode I've got it in. I've got it in what OBS calls studio mode. So this is what it's looking like. So that's why it's blank. If I switch to a different scene, in this particular one, I just have a logo. It now switched over. By studio mode, it gives us the same prep mode that we had with Microsoft Teams. So I can prep, make changes. So for example, I can say, you know what? I want to take this, move it over here, and then I want to do a fade over. And now we go over there. So if we switch back to Yammer, in a second here, we should be able to see, we'll see the box with the logo show up on the right-hand side, and then it'll switch and transition to the left. So there, like I said, there is a delay. If we, while this is loading, we'll do web, no, we'll go back to the office.com. No, not to that point yet. Okay, if we come back into stream, like I said, there are some encoder tools that Microsoft has created that make it easier to be able to go get set up. So if I want to create a live event, okay, a lot of the options on this one are going to be fairly similar. There we go. So I have to, it says I have to save my event. So I'll just call this test. I'm not going to be actually streaming anything. And I say, you know what? Not a specific time. I want it. Nope, come on. All right. I want it now. I want my immediate gratification. I want to be able to create my event now. All right. So if I hit save, Emma, are you done? There we go. Okay. So we can see we have our video here in the top right. And then in a minute, we'll be talking, blah, 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 blah. And then I should transition to the left-hand side because that's what we set up in our event. There it goes. Okay. As you can see, depending on when you connect in, there can be a fairly sizable delay. But it's just one of those things we have to keep in mind that it does exist because it has to process through the video. All right. So now if we come back to here, you'll see we have the default option is to configure manually. Scroll down. And then if we click the configure manually dropdown, we'll see some of the other different encoders that they have built up configuration for. So we can see a lot of these are full organizations that have some heavy duty hardware that you can work with. There's also Wirecast that you can work with that'll give you, for example, we select Wirecast, is okay. All you have to do is hit start setup, launch the encoder, and it automatically pre-configures everything for you. You're off and running. So depending on what your needs may be, that's the best way to be able to get it going. All right, so we're done with our event here. So I'm going to stop streaming. And then we'll see it here in a second. This will shut off. Once it stops the stream. All right, being a little slow today. All right, so we'll switch back. And then from here, we'll just hit and disconnect. Not actually going to send anything, but we'll call it good. Did you stop? There we go. Okay. So as you said, like I said, it'll stop, say, it'll switch back to start streaming, and we can see our status indicators will switch back off. Also, we have the ability to change things up. So there's a lot of tools and a lot of information if you want to use OBS. It does a lot of things, and there are also plenty of YouTube videos on how to set it up if you really have that. Or if you have any questions, let me know, because I've used this quite a bit, and I can answer that as well. At this point, okay, we've done our demo. We're pretty much at time. Michael, let's switch over to questions.
Oh man, I hope you're ready for the onslaught of questions I have for you, because there are a lot of them. Let me get my camera back.
Let's go for it.
All right, let me jump back up to the top of the list here. Thank you, everyone, by the way, for sending in your questions, and thank you for your patience while we got through a lot of this very important information. All right, so starting at the top, our friend Melissa sent in this question. Melissa, thank you very much. Does external viewers mean that only company employees can view the video? It's not available for use on a website, for example.
The external viewers for a Teams live event is anybody that has the URL. So it can be consumed as in the web viewer of Teams, or they can actually, if they have the Teams client installed, they can load it there as well. But there's no real stipulation. As long as they have the link to the video, they can watch it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. All right. This comes from our friend Darlene. Darlene, thank you for your question. We have an E3 with Office 365 Video Portal. If we migrate to Stream, are we going to have to pay additional licenses per user?
No. So as far as Microsoft Stream is concerned, it's included as part of every Office 365 subscription. Well, the one caveat that maybe like your frontline workers may not have it, but every major one for your regular users, Stream comes with it. Microsoft is in the process of giving admins the ability to automatically switch things over by just hitting a button, migrating all the content, channels, all that sort of stuff from Office 365 Video into Stream. The one thing you do have to keep in mind, the limitations that Stream does not have, well, the limitations in Stream that Office 365 Video gives you is search. So any video in Office 365 Video goes up in SharePoint Search. Also, any sort of APIs. We don't have those in Stream. So it's those two things. If you don't need search other places and you don't need API integration, then you're fine switching it over. Like I said, Microsoft has said they're sometime soon, they said it's supposed to be this summer, they'll be releasing the ability to do an admin-guided transition from Office 365 Video to Microsoft Stream. But as far as licenses are concerned, no, it's nothing extra.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Wow, excellent. All right. This next question comes from our friend Amanda. Amanda, thank you for your question. Can you record a live event to share later with those who couldn't attend live?
Yes. So if you're doing a live event, like I said, this just depends on which channel that we talked about before. If you're doing a live event in Teams, if you're doing Teams as your producing platform, it's available. It'll give you the recording, but then you can now take that video and upload it into Stream later. If you're doing it with the external encoder approach, that video is automatically available in Stream for on-demand consumption after the event's done. So there'll be a slight delay where it processes, does your transcription, gets your thumbnails, those sort of thing. When that's done, the video is available for people to watch after the fact.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Scroll back here. All right. Question from our friend Sydney. Thank you, Sydney, for your question. Is the term channel for streams like the term channel for Teams? So channel for streams versus channel for Teams. Is it the same? Is it different? How does that work?
Really, the channel is just a way of grouping videos. So if we're in Stream, a channel is a way of being able to group videos together. Is really all it ends up being. With that channel, it can have spotlighted content that we can set on it, but really it's not a channel in the fact that, okay, we got the same type of concept. It's just a way of grouping information, which I guess in Teams, that's really all a channel is, just grouping things based off of common interest.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. All right. Question from our friend Anna. Anna, thank you for sending in your question. Can you add more than one video at the same time to a channel? Videos you already have uploaded to Stream.
Yep. Yep. You can go in and add them all, multiples, and send them over to your channel. Also, one of the things I didn't show, you can actually upload multiple videos at once. So if you drag and drop two video files onto the screen where we have the upload screen, it'll upload both of them and give you the status of each of them so you can fill out the information that you need independently.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Excellent. All right, we had another question from our friend Sydney. Sydney, thank you for all your questions. Can you comment on using the 3D options in PowerPoint and then saving it as a video? I work with engineers who generate CAD drawings too. Are there significant areas where Microsoft is not using inputs from other vendors just yet? Pretty loaded question there.
As far as if you're recording a video, it doesn't really matter too much. At this point in time, Microsoft Stream is 2D content only. So if you're doing a presentation in PowerPoint with the 3D content, you can do that. But really, when you're recording the video, it's going to get recorded into a 2D format, which at that point in time it's the same as everything else. It's just going to be a common video format, MP4 or whatever you recorded in. So at that point in time, your 3D really just comes into cool transition effects or how you're interacting with the presentation, but doesn't really impact the video at all.
Got it. Thank you. Excellent. Excellent. Thanks for tackling that one. All right. This next question is from our friend Victor. Victor, thank you for your question. It seems to be very different if we use our Mac iOS MS Teams. Some options features seem to be missing when not using Windows OS. Also, what is the best web browser to use for viewing streams? So I think there's two questions here. The second one being, what's the best web browser? And then going back to the different operating systems and the different features on each.
As far as like web browser, any of the modern compliant browsers. So Edge, Credge for your Chrome Edge, Chrome, Safari. Oh, I'm pretty sure Safari works. As far as consuming the videos, yeah, not a big huge difference on there as long as it's a modern one. I think they even work in IE, even though Microsoft has said to tell people to stop using IE, it still works. As far as the question about different features in the Mac version, if you were talking about Stream itself, there is no difference because it's just a web browser. So really, how you're interacting with it, it's going to be the same. If you're talking about Microsoft's Teams on the different tools, yeah, there are differences. I don't know what they all are because for the most time I'm doing most of my stuff on my Windows machine instead of the Mac. But I do have friends that have used it, and yes, there are some differences, but I can't speak to what those differences are in Teams. But as far as I've understood, most of the live event functionality should be there. But I may be wrong. I'm not necessarily a Mac user.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you for that, sir. All right. Next question from our friend Hassan. Hassan, thank you for your question. All right. Is Microsoft Stream part of the Microsoft 365, or is it a separate license?
It's included as part of your Office 365, which is now also Microsoft 365. So yeah, it's included as part of that.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you for that. Another question from our friend Victor. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you demonstrate how to record and save?
Record and save. As far as like doing a live event, it's automatically going to record it, whether it's in Teams or Stream. That part's not a problem. If you're doing an external video encoder, you can do a live, stream it, but there's also the button underneath Start Stream is also Start Recording. You can actually, depending on the power of your machine, you can have it doing both at the same point in time if you want to have a backup. Say, for example, you had a problem with your internet connection. That is an option.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. And then another question from our friend Sydney. Where does Teams store the video? Please tell me it's not in shared documents.
That's a good question. I don't think it. I'll have to look on that one because I know I've done some events, but I don't think I have any recently. I have to go check. But as far as I've understood, it's not going to be in shared documents, and part of that is because, and what leads me to say that is that the events themselves, like if you want to get the recording, it's available for 30 days after the event. After that point in time, it's gone. So that leads me to believe it's part of shared documents. They're just kind of storing it elsewhere. So if you want to get that available to somebody else, make sure you go ahead and pull that within the 30 days.
There you go. Thank you for that. All right, that was the onslaught of questions I had for you. Thanks for running that gauntlet, Ryan. That was great. Guys, if you have your questions, please send them on over. We still have about 5 minutes left, so we'll be happy to answer those. Ryan, is there anything else about Stream that people should think about? If someone hasn't used Stream before, they're really trying to get their company to use it. Obviously, this whole session is kind of the answer to my question, but anything additional that you want to include on Stream that could sell somebody on the product?
I would just say a lot of times when I've showed this to different departments, just showing the functionality, some of the features, people are like, wow. I showed it to a training department, and they're like, okay, you're showing me all this cool stuff. How much is this going to cost me? And my answer was like, nothing. It's free. We're already paying for it. Like, okay. So we started talking about more of the features. Like, okay, talk about more of the stuff that it could do. And he's like, all right, I may look calm on the outside, but on the inside, I was like a kid bouncing off the wall. I'm so excited about this because it offers so much different functionality. So I think a lot of things, one of the things I tell people, if you want to drive adoption of Microsoft Stream, find one of those type of organizations. Like I said, training departments are going to be ideal because a lot of times they want to do video content. Because if a picture is worth 1,000 words, what's a video? It's going to make it a lot easier for them to share their message. Also, I would say, if you have an internal communications department, get them up to speed on what the functionality is and start them playing with it. Once they have that, they're like, oh, this opens up a lot of windows, a lot of different things that we can do with it. So it really kind of adds in and makes it nice. But yeah, the big thing, you need to find an organization to help drive and start getting you some content in there. You want to draw people in, but if you don't have some good content, it's not super easy. Also, if you really want, because Stream itself does not allow customization of the UI at all, you can take and create your own video platform inside a SharePoint site, a modern SharePoint site. So we have web parts for embedding videos, for embedding channels, for embedding all of Stream itself. If you want to make it more fitting with your company brand, if you want some more to deal with it, you do have that option, and you can work with it that way too. So also, if you're the person that's in the admin, make sure you're familiar with some of the configurations that you can turn on the abilities to limit who can create content, so upload videos, who can create live events, who can create company-wide channels, what people can do if you're going to allow them to create content, if they have to accept the policies about what's available to them. Like, say you can have a company policy about what content is appropriate. I know some organizations say, like, hey, you know what? We don't need your personal videos stored in here because, as you notice, we do have a limit on space. So they don't want personal stuff in there. We don't want videos of your kids. We don't want videos of your cat. If it doesn't help the business, it doesn't belong in there. So make sure you have some guidelines for your users about what is appropriate, and then that way you can go in and work with that. So those are the key things I would say. And also, as an admin, make sure you turn on the alerts to let you know when you're getting low on storage space. That way you can start working with people to remove old, unviewed content, stuff that people aren't really consuming.
I may ask this next question wrong, but it goes along with what you're saying. So in terms of like the sales and marketing team, can you make that internal facing?
Sales and marketing, yeah. Yeah, you can. So as long as it's like right now, Microsoft Stream is internal only as far as videos. Like your videos on demand are only internal. So you could do sales and marketing videos, kind of product demos, talking about different things. Yeah, they can consume it, and they can set up a team just for them, and then they only have access to their content, so they don't have to worry about other people coming across it if you don't want. Say, for example, you have an R&D team that's kind of doing some research on different things. They're doing evaluations, they're recording how things are working, whatever. They can have their group, and they can post their videos to that group, and it's not something that's consumable by everybody.
Excellent, got it. Thank you for that. All right, and then this last one is from our friend Anna again. Anna, thank you so much for your question. It's a two-part question. When you do a live event in Teams and record, are there any limitations of how many that can join? Might be a limit to not run into any performance issues, or is there a limit to not cause any performance issues?
Yeah, so as far as Microsoft Stream is concerned for live events, their published limit right now is 10,000 concurrent viewers.
Excellent.
As far as like consuming videos after the fact, any sort of limits, it's going to be dependent on your network. Stream is not going to have any limits as far as like how many people can actually watch a video. It's going to be more bandwidth. It's going to be your limiting factor.
Got it. Excellent. Well, that is the end of our questions. Ryan, did you have any closing thoughts or final pieces that you wanted to share for your session?
I would say just one of those things, be creative. Like a lot of times as you're working with this, there are different pieces that you can kind of start putting together. So, example, we talked about combining SharePoint and Stream, trying combining things in with PowerPoint, using how you interact with OBS. Just be creative with it. It's one of those things when I'm streaming things, I tell people, like, hey, really the limits are more your creativity and what you want to set up. You can set up different things where you have a picture-in-picture. You can do a bunch of different things with it. But just be creative and just go play with it. It's like if you've got it in your organization and you can get your admin to let you use it, cool. If not, go sign up for a demo tenant. Start playing with it, start interacting with it, and say, okay, let me show you. It makes it easier to show to stakeholders, this is what it can do. Here's what we can do with it. And they're like, you see the light bulb go off. You're like, oh, this is amazing. You're like, yep, okay, cool, let's do it. So yeah, just go ahead, experiment, go play, do what you need to with it, and have fun.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Ryan. All right, guys, well, we are at our time. Ryan, thank you so much again for this amazing session. This has been one I've been looking forward to for a while, so thank you for that. Guys, we appreciate we appreciate you all being here and hanging out with us for this whole hour and 15 minutes. We'll have another show next month. We're finalizing some details, so we'll share that all out with you soon. There will be a recap of this session as well. We'll have that up early next week, so I'm usually trying to get those out, so a video and a recap of some of this. Guys, if you have any additional questions, shoot them over to us. You can find Ryan on Twitter as well, at SharePoint Night, or us at PixelMill Team. We'll be happy to answer your questions, or at least if you message me, I'll point you to Ryan and make him the bad. Guys, again, thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We will see you all around the bend next time around.
See you, everybody.